Greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Jason Butrago, and my pronouns are he and him. I am a very proud member of the class of 2007 and a graduate alumnus of the Warner School of Education class of 2014, and I'm currently a PhD candidate at Warner as well. I will be your MC for today's event. So as a volunteer, I serve on the university's Diversity Advisory Council, which provides leadership, guidance, and feedback to the University of Rochester on diversity and inclusion initiatives for its alumni and students. I am also a proud member of the university's alumni board, which provides counsel to the Office of Alumni Relations and Constituent Engagement, as well as helps develop programs and offer services that demonstrate the benefits of maintaining a relationship with the university post-graduation. I am also really excited because I serve as a network leader here in Cleveland, connecting with my fellow Yellow Jackets across schools and classes up here in Northeast Ohio. You were all invited today to join because you are also university volunteer leaders. So let me begin by offering you a heartfelt thank you for all that you do to support our institution and its people and its mission. Now, to get into today's program, VIP Leadership Forums provide volunteers an opportunity to hear from the university leadership, alumni, and students on topics that focus on strategic priorities, campus life today, engagement, and philanthropy. These forums help to further your knowledge and expertise as volunteer ambassadors. Today's forum focuses on the Rochester student experience, something that we're all pretty familiar with. In our program, we will hear from university leadership as well as a panel of students across various schools. There will be an opportunity for our speakers and the panel to address audience questions. And throughout the program, if you would like to submit a question to be considered, please use the Q&A functionality located at the bottom of your screen. So to get us started, I'd like to introduce two distinguished members of the university faculty and staff who will tell us about some trends that they're seeing with the Rochester undergraduate and graduate student experience. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Jeffrey Runner and Dr. Melissa Sturge-Apple. Dr. Runner is Vice Provost and University Dean of Undergraduate Education, Dean of the College of Arts, Sciences, and Engineering, and Professor of Linguistics and Brain and Cognitive Sciences. Dr. Sturge-Apple serves as Vice Provost and University Dean of Graduate Education and is a professor in psychology for the School of Arts and Sciences. So without further ado, welcome to the both of you, and please take it away.
Thanks, Jason. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for all that you do for the university. I just want to start with that. I know that's really a really important role that you all play, and Jason and others. Melissa and I thought we would talk a little bit about what's going on campus now, but also some of the things we're thinking about just generally about student experience. So we're all kind of in a, I don't know if you want to call it post-COVID, but we're sort of in a post-COVID world now. If you looked at campus a year or two ago, you would have seen students walking around with masks on, and you would have seen, especially in the very severe year, students were restricted from participating in clubs and organizations in person. They were not able to visit each other in their residence halls. It was quite, it was an important time for us to really manage the disease, but it had an impact on student life for sure. Last year was much better. This year, I think everyone, by all accounts, coming back in the fall, and having a full-on orientation with the many students coming together and getting to really start their social relationships. It's been a huge change and much more back to normal. That said, we're still dealing with COVID, but at least on our campus, it's been pretty quiet in that respect. I think an important thing that we learned during COVID, and it continues to be a focus, is just how much all of the health and mental health and academic and everything fits together as we think about our students. We think about our students holistically, and certainly during COVID, we had to really do that because we were thinking about their health and welfare in a way that we never had to before. And I think a positive outcome of that is that we continue to recognize the importance of creating a kind of balance. You know, we all talk about work-life balance, but I think for our students, you can talk about an academic life balance. We want to make sure our students, of course, are engaged in their classes and doing everything they can to be successful academically. We also want them to have lots of wonderful experiences outside the classroom, but we also want them to sleep and eat and take care of themselves and have the mental health support and other kinds of support that is so important. One of the ways that we sort of think about one of the sort of critical things that we thinking about in terms of creating a good environment for students is thinking about ways that they can feel that they belong, that they're part of the community. And that feeling of belonging, not only does that help with retention, which is one of my jobs, is to make sure our students are successful during and after college, but it also can help with that feeling of balance that we want to create for our students. And the interesting thing, and I'm going to kind of just segue to the next bit, and then I'll let Melissa share a little bit of the graduate perspective. We more and more recognize the importance of experiential learning for our students, academic opportunities to get into undergraduate research or to study abroad or do an internship over the summer or be a TA or be in one of the many, many clubs and organizations. The skills students develop by participating in these kinds of activities are directly relevant for their success both during college and after college. I know there's a lot of increased interest in thinking about how does a residential college experience prepare students for life after college. And I think one of the things that we recognize is all of the different experiences students have both inside and outside the classroom. I harp on that for a second because those experiences in being parts of clubs and organizations, for example, not only create these skills, but they also create the context for that sense of belonging that we also recognize is so important. So from our point of view, thinking about ways we can help our students get engaged with themselves, each other, while also balancing all of the different factors that are part of a college student's life, both can set the stage for them to be successful and happy, but also be successful after college. So there's really a kind of a community angle here, as well as setting up the sort of the balance that we want our students to have. And I'm focusing mostly on undergrads. A lot of the same issues are true for grad students, but the way it works is a little differently. And I'll let Melissa say a little bit about that.
Thanks. Yeah, I think, Jeff, walking around campus this summer and this fall and having students back and full person and everything engaged just really gave an appreciation of the importance of being on campus, our physical spaces, kind of the beauty of the campus and being able to engage. And I think for graduate students, that's very true as well. I think our graduate student population is changing a lot. I think today's graduate students, and then there's students on the panel that can, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think that they are very invested in being part of the community and belonging to the university and being part of the university. And so I think as we've thought about how we can connect students better, not only to the school, but also to the broader Rochester community, and to Jeff's point about experiential learning. And we've been looking at internships and ways they can connect with various opportunities in Rochester to be part of not only the campus community, but also our broader community here, has become kind of really evident, I think, after COVID. I think COVID has really taught us a lot of things about the importance of belonging and connection. And in graduate student surveys that I see or talk to graduate students, I hear belonging is very important to them as well. And it actually really fosters, their academic trajectory, their ability to thrive and flourish in their academic programs. And so really attending to that piece of their educational experiences become something that we're thinking about in graduate education as well, and how we can better support students in their connections to each other and to that campus community. Do you want to talk a little bit about career outcomes, Jeff?
Yeah, so certainly, again, getting back to the importance of understanding what the contribution of a residential college experience is to careers, we've done over the last 5 years or so, we've really developed a good reporting system of first destination positions. So we, the Green Center for Career does a sort of an analysis of our recent graduates and follows them to figure out, what kinds of positions they got. And if anybody is interested, maybe Lauren can find the link, but there's a link to where students can actually look up, for particular even majors, what do people who've had those majors end up doing in their first destination. Now, that's all of us who have been out here for a while recognize that the first destination is just the first step out of college. And what we've been doing is working on 5 and 10 year evaluations as well, so we can understand what happens to our students as they go out. I think I can't emphasize enough the importance of of course, our students are getting amazing academic experiences inside the classroom. That's, in many ways, that's why they come here. But I think the fact that they're in this residential college environment, the way I think of it is we have access, the students are with us 24/7, and it's our responsibility to fill that time with enriching and educational experiences. And so, sure, they're in their classes for a couple hours here, a couple hours there, but the rest of the time they're still learning. They're young people, again, undergrads, age 18 to 22. It's such an important part of their life, and all of the different experiences they can have by doing internships or getting involved in undergraduate research. They can both learn about themselves and their interests, but they can also develop these skills like leadership and teamwork and global fluency and all of the things that employers cite as being a really important feature of new hires. So that's something we feel really important that we're providing. And also, it's not just that we're providing it, because I think we've always provided it. It's that students are able to enunciate that they're getting these skills. So when a student does go into a job interview, they can actually reflect on the experiences they've had and how that does set them up for success in their positions that they end up taking.
Yeah, I would say for grad education and Jeff, this is probably also in your area, but one of the things, and this might be particular relevance to the people on the webinar, is we're really trying to build out the network through the Meliora Collective, actually, and in particular, as well, the mentoring aspect of the collective and kind of connecting our current students with potential mentors outside of the institution, and thinking about, a lot of our graduate students are really thinking about, diversity of careers. So do they want to go into an academic position? Do they want to go into industry across the different, degrees that they could earn? And so how can we kind of support their access and to that, and kind of to understand and learn more about the different options that are available for them? And so I think through the grad education office, part of our work has been really connecting our grad students to the Meliora Collective. Not only the groups that are on there, but also to a certain extent, the mentoring program that's offered. And I see it's just gotten in the chat. That's great. But the more you can kind of think about connecting with that, or engaging folks that you're talking to in that collective group, I think would be fantastic for our students to be able to access and network. So
getting back to when during COVID, we were very concerned about the fact that students were not as engaged in their clubs and organizations for understandable reasons. And we were a little concerned the year after that really bad year. So last year, we were wondering, are students going to bounce back? How are we going to have to lure them out of their rooms? Because everyone is getting so used to staying home and just being on Zoom all the time. And what we found, we did set things up so that we made sure we were in our offices and we were around for students to interact with. But what we found, at least in the space of clubs and organizations, we typically have already a large number of students in clubs and organizations, typically around 85%. But actually last year we were at 92% of our students are in at least one club or organization, which I love to hear because, of course, it fits very much with that idea of belonging and creating communities and finding your niche for our students and how important that is for their both their academic success, but also for their social and mental health successes. So that actually was a really nice thing to discover, that the students they were just bursting out wanting to be engaging with one another, which is really great to see.
Yeah, and to follow up on that, we've seen more and more graduate student club organizations and groups. And I know some of the students that are on the panel actually, I think, have started them in their own programs. And so I think it's been a great way to connect students across the institution. I mean, we have 6 different schools where we have graduate students, and we have 5,000 graduate students across the institution, and how students can, or we can facilitate connections. Like I hear from students all the time, they love talking to students in other schools, and they're doing different work and kind of having that kind of breadth of exposure to all the different kind of academic work that's going on here. And also social life event that's going on here has been really, fantastic for students. So, and one of the things we've built out is the campus community connection, right? Is that right, Jeff? I got it. The CCC, which is a network that we have where student clubs and organizations can load up their information and students can access them and each other. So I think
You want to say something about the the grad student week?
Yeah, it's just, but then part of that is we do. In April, we actually started about 6 years ago, Grad Student Appreciation Week, where we try to do a lot of events, again, towards that point of connecting our students, connecting them in the community, and kind of just knowing how much a lot of our graduate students do a lot of support for the undergraduate mission here, the teaching and research mission, as well as their own graduate work. So just kind of appreciating all that they do and they offer. So, and Jason's come on, so I think our time is up.
Some great information. Thank you so much, Dr. Runner and Dr. Sturge-Apple. In full transparency, I am currently serving as a mentor as part of the Meliora Collective. And as a kind of shameless plug here, I want to share that it has been fantastic to have this connection to current students, to foster outside of your traditional kind of alumni relationships that exist. And this is just such an authentic way to continue connecting. So to all my fellow alums that haven't yet had the opportunity to explore the Meliora Collective or to become a mentor, it really is a really rewarding experience. I'm really excited to continue it as well. So as a reminder to our audience members, please feel free to utilize a Q&A functionality on your screen for some good questions and answers. We're going to jump right in. So hope you're ready, Dr. Runner and Dr. Sturge-Apple. So the first question, I'm going to pitch this one over to Jeff first. So how is the university working to make the student life, the non-academic experiences, more consistent between the undergraduates and graduate students and between the various schools as well? So honestly, it's actually a pitch to both of you guys.
Well, I can start. Most of you have probably by now heard Sarah Mangelsdorf talk about her vision for the university, and she regularly uses the phrase "one university," and that's something that's explicitly seeping down to the different schools. And from my perspective as an undergraduate person, to me that means the college in Eastman. How do we make sure the undergraduate students across those two schools are getting consistent student activities and things? And we've been much more explicit about splitting up some of the Rochester traditions. For example, some of the activities take place at Eastman, and we bus students from the River campus to Eastman. And then some of the activities happen on the River campus, and we explicitly bring the Eastman students over to do things together, so that both schools are kind of developing that sense of U of R tradition together. That's just the tip of the iceberg, but I'll let Melissa talk a little bit about the grad space, because that's actually a little more challenging given that there are so many different schools with so many different types of programs.
Yeah, so actually we had a position added to my office, and she is in charge of kind of connecting graduate student life and graduate student affairs across all the different schools. And so Liz Daniele sits in there and brings together the staff that work on this in each Simon and Warner and Eastman, SMD, nursing, and AS&E. I think I got them all. And kind of think about how we can kind of not recreate, and how we can really take strengths from the different schools and the things that they do and connect students to those. So for example, in Warner, Jason, well, I mean, we do things on there's offerings on teaching and kind of curriculum development and such as like that. And then Eastman, of course, there's concerts, and there's wonderful things that Eastman provides. So it's really been, I think, interesting and also exciting to kind of build up of our unique strengths towards these different experiences that students can have. So that's been a really, I think, positive thing for connecting our students.
Excellent. Absolutely fantastic. Before we jump into the panelists, our student panelists, I'd like to also kind of pitch a little bit of a question here around advice to our recent alums. And so let's start off with you again, Dr. Runner. If you were to give some advice to a recent graduate, what advice would you give them about staying connected and kind of continuing on that mission of Meliora?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about preparing our students to go into the world and make the world ever better, and we hope that they kind of think that way when they're going forward. I'll kind of talk a little bit about what I already mentioned is acknowledging and understanding and being able to articulate not only the academic preparation that the student received. Obviously, if they have a BS in optics, that's a very coherent thing that they can talk about, but it's those other things that sometimes they call them soft skills, I guess. I don't like to call them that, but the other skills that they've developed that are so important in any kind of work environment, to be able to say that they've actually developed those skills. One of the things that we're doing is actually trying to quantify that a little bit better, so students can actually learn what they are missing in terms of some of the skills beyond just the academics, so that we can then also make sure that we're providing those for students. So the kind of advice I have is really to think about, reflect on the experience and how it has prepared you for whatever you're doing. And of course, you know this, many of our students, undergrads, go to graduate school, and many of them go into the workforce. And so the advice is similar, although how it pans out might be a little different depending on the actual path that the student is taking.
Solid advice. How about yourself, Dr. Sturgill? Take us home.
Oh, that's a heavy charge. What advice do I have? I think that to Jeff's point, I mean, I'm going to go back to, I think, reconnecting back to campus and current students, and figuring out, I mean, I mentioned the Meliora Collective, the department you came from, the students. I think the most important thing one of the most important things for our students is I do think mentoring and having connections is really key. And I think Rochester, having that common bond of being a Rochester grad, and being able to connect through that and foster and support students in their journeys, I think is a critical way that our alumni and our partners can help us.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Runner, Dr. Sturgill, again, for sharing your time with us this afternoon. It was a pleasure having you. Now, I'm also incredibly excited to introduce to you an exceptional group of students who will be sharing their own experiences with us So please join me in welcoming our first student panelist, Deandra Brown, who will be receiving her MBA from the Simon Business School in 2023. She is pursuing a concentration in strategy and pricing with minors in leadership and health science management. Up next, we have Jackson Hernandez, who is a fifth-year chemistry PhD student with the School of Arts and Sciences, also planning to graduate in 2023. In his studies, he is part of the Frontier Group, which works on the development of new methodologies for the synthesis of heterocyclic small molecules with potential for bioactivity. Following Jackson, we welcome Ignacio Rodriguez, who is a senior from the Hagem School of Engineering and Applied Sciences. He is majoring in biomedical engineering with a focus in signals and systems. And last but certainly not least, let's please welcome Taylor Yoon, who is a current junior at the Eastman School of Music, studying cello performance. She was also recently accepted into the Arts and Leadership Certificate and the Chamber Music Certificate programs. So thank you all for being a part of the VIP Leadership Forum today. And let's get started with some good questions. I'm going to start off with Deandra. Deandra, great to see you again. Hope everything is going well with Simon. My first question for you is, why did you ultimately choose to attend the University of Rochester and the Simon Business School?
Well, for me, it was, after a while, it became a no-brainer, honestly. I applied to Simon and several other schools, and I got accepted to all of them. But after reaching out with Simon admissions persons, Julie and Andrew, and communicating with other schools, Simon became the standard. I was like, why are they not checking on me? Why are they not communicating with me? And just the sense of community. Honestly, I thought initially that, okay, I'm waiting for the shoe to drop, being an optimist pessimist as I was. But that was consistent across the board. Everyone I spoke to was just so welcoming, so helpful. And before long, I soon realized that this was definitely the place I wanted to be.
Fantastic, fantastic. Now, was that your first time visiting Rochester, New York, when you applied to Rochester, to Simon?
Yes, it was, and I'm from the city, so not too far away, but it was very different from what I was used to, but it was a welcome change. I really loved the campus. I fell in love with it the first time I visited, and I could definitely see myself here, so I made it happen.
Fantastic, excellent. That's a great story. We'll circle back, Deandra, with some more questions for sure. Let's switch over to Jackson. Jackson, so I would love for you to share a little bit about what makes the University of Rochester unique to you, special to you, based on your academic and also extracurricular work.
Well, in my experience in my department, the chemistry department here is very small, and I feel like everyone knows each other, and it's a very open department, so we can just go into whatever lab we want. If we have an inorganic question, we can go down to the basement and talk to the inorganic people, and they're more than happy to help you. And same for us organic people. If anyone has a question, they can come to us. So it's a very collaborative environment. And I did an internship here before starting my graduate work. And that's when I fell in love with the department and with the PIs and how supportive everyone was. So I feel like that's very special of this department, because there's definitely in other departments, I'm sure people are more like, there's more of a toxic environment with like research and competition and everything. And we don't really see that here. Everyone is trying to be successful and pushing themselves, but there's not that toxic competition that you can see in other places.
Interesting. That's a really interesting perspective, especially as a graduate student, right, in the chemistry department as well. Knowing just the landscape of doctoral programs in chemistry across the country can be very competitive. So that environment was really, really warming. I'm kind of curious to hear from Ignacio from the undergraduate perspective, what makes for you U of R special or unique?
Before I came here, I did the pre-engineering program, which it was a kind of a trial of every or the four main engineering ones, audio, music, optics, BME and computer science. And I don't know, I just thought like, the openness, I had a chance to talk with our program coordinator, Jaime, and Deandra mentioned this. It was just like the communication. It was just like Jaime was really open to talking to me, and she was really helpful. She's like, hey, like you don't have to like, it sounds like really big, like this step, obviously, but you take it one step at a time, and we'll guide you through it. And that's what I really liked. It was both kind of like, a nurturing hand, but also not enough that I felt coddled, but that I could still felt like I was making my own decisions, but also that, if I needed to, someone was there to help. And I really like that community aspect. And also, like there's a lot of people, it's a small school, or smallish school. And, I like seeing the same faces, and it just, the community, seeing people in Starbucks regularly. I just like it. It's really, that's what I enjoy.
Small yet incredibly mighty, right? I oftentimes like to say about our individual programs. Why did you choose the University of Rochester, Ignacio, to begin with? As an undergraduate student, right? Your recruitment experience is a little bit different than graduate students. So I'm kind of curious to hear what ultimately allowed you to make that decision to say, yes, I am submitting my enrollment deposit around May 1st, probably, to attend the University of Rochester.
It was both that, like that pre-college program taster that I had done, like I had been accepted, and then this, I before like kind of apps, I just came here, and I really liked, the city of Rochester, the campus. It, felt like a home away from home. And I'm also someone who's like moved around a lot, so like I like going to new places, and this place was new to me, and it was different. It felt, unique, and I just felt like a kind of like a pull to it as compared to, like the University of Wisconsin. Not that I'm hating on them or anything. It's just an example, but like, I don't know, I kind of said them both out loud, and, there was more of a kind of like a spark when I said Rochester than Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm. That seems to be a common trend across many of our students that enroll. That spark, it's that kind of je ne sais quoi of sorts when you step foot on campus, and when you're engaging and working with current faculty, with staff, with other students as well, and other mentors. Taylor, I would love to hear a little bit about your story from the Eastman perspective. Why did you ultimately choose the Eastman School of Music, and kind of what makes it special and unique for you?
So it's like everyone else mentioned, Eastman actually is quite small. It's actually smaller than the University of Rochester, I guess. Even though we are part of University of Rochester, we're our own separate school in a sense. I'm from Oregon, so I'm very, very far from my home. I was born and raised there. And I had the opportunity to go to schools that were closer to home, essentially. And I'm a homebody. I love my family, and I love being close to them. But my current professor, he's David Yang. He's the cellist of the Yang Quartet. He called me, and he basically gave me this whole speech about how amazing Eastman is. He's an Eastman alumni, actually, and now he works there. And he basically convinced me that Eastman is this special place. You get the opportunity to do things that other schools don't give the opportunity to students to do. And the way that he talked was just so compelling. I could tell how much he loved this school. And as he was, and he's an alumni, so he had the opportunity to go through the same things that I'm currently going through. So hearing that firsthand experience of someone who's gone through what I'm currently experiencing was pretty amazing. And he's a great talker. So he's pretty amazing, and he's the reason why I'm here.
Nice. And I'm kind of curious as a follow-up to that then, Taylor. So given that the Eastman School of Music is geographically located pretty separately, right, from the main River campus itself, I'm kind of curious to hear around extracurricular activities. How do you engage with the city of Rochester in your geographic space over in downtown?
Sure. Yeah. So I actually am involved in a lot of current clubs. It's as Dr. Runner described. I was here. My freshman year was the first COVID year. So I was the student that was in my room constantly. I couldn't, go out and meet people, and I didn't have the opportunity to go to clubs. And as soon as I had the opportunity to, I signed up for the environmental club. I signed up for Beyond Consent clubs. I'm currently part of SAA, which is the Student Alumni Association group. And I also work at the Welcome Center at my school. So I had the opportunity to constantly engage with students, faculty, staff, and also the Eastman community. We get a lot of phone calls from alumni also, and also just people around in downtown Rochester. You mentioned that I was part of the Chamber Certificate program here. I'm in a piano trio, and we're part of a program called Eastman to Go. And we have the opportunity to go into the Rochester community and play for the community, which is just so amazing. It's so great that they have a program like that. It just helps me get a better sense of who these people are, just because I'm not from New York. I'm pretty far away, so actually coming here was kind of a culture shock. But yeah, I have the opportunity to connect with so many people just based off of the programs that are involved, that are, I guess, allowed here. I don't know, it's pretty amazing just how much I have the opportunity to see the people and see the community also.
I absolutely love that. Eastman to Go. What a brilliant way to frame it. I love that. That's some great work there that you're doing. Let's take it back to Simon, to Deandra here. Kind of curious to hear, now that you're in your second year of your MBA program, right? You're getting ready to graduate in 2023. How have you engaged in various different extracurricular activities as part of the Simon Business School, both on campus and off campus?
It's interesting because volunteer was always important to me. And I remember during my interview, and I was speaking to Julie, she mentioned this program, Pieces, which is a part of Simon Volunteers. And I was just so excited at what that possibly could be. So when I got admitted, the first club that I joined was Simon Volunteers. And I became part of the Pieces program, for which now I am the co-VP of that program. And I'm also a part of the consortium board, which consortium promote diversity in business. I'm also a part of the that board as a community liaison. And I'm also a part of the Simon Black Student Alliance, which I am also the VP of events. And for me, of all the clubs, Pieces is definitely my passion. We are able to go into the community. It's a partnership with Rochester School District, where we go in and we teach 5th and 6th graders about growth mindset, financial planning, and entrepreneurial skills, and kind of help them to develop their own entrepreneurial ideas. And for me, my co-VP and I are equally as passionate. So whenever persons come in and we talk about the school itself and the program, everyone get excited. Like, now we have so many volunteers this year, because this is just something that has driven me and her to like kind of get persons actively involved. It's a way to, we have interviews, our programs are very rigorous, recruiting, and it's an opportunity to step outside of ourselves and to do something that will improve the community and leave a mark on those who are coming up who could benefit, because they're the ones that are in the local community, and kind of reshape their thinking and ultimately the trajectory of their lives. So
I absolutely love the direct and indirect recruitment of sorts that's happening right now too, with more and more folks getting excited about it, not just our students that are currently at the university, but also with the engagement of faculty and staff. And there's really phenomenal momentum that I'm really excited to see happen. Jackson, throwing this one to you as well. We all know you're working very diligently on your dissertation. You're getting ready to defend. You're getting ready to graduate. So you have all of this time, I'm sure, to experience extracurriculars in the city of Rochester. But would love to hear a little bit more about your experiences over the last few years as part of your PhD in chemistry.
Yeah, when I first started here, I joined the Chemistry Graduate Association, CGA. And we did before COVID, we did a lot of outreach events, like going to middle schools in the area and doing chemistry demonstrations to get the kids excited about science and show them that anyone can do chemistry. Like, you don't have to look a certain way to do chemistry, like anyone can do science. So yeah, that was my first experience doing outreach here. And then after COVID, we couldn't really go out and do these outreach events anymore because there were limitations. So I decided to start my own group here within the department, and I started a group called Chemistry in Motion. And that was just to help the chemistry graduate students, because there was a lot of depression and not like no one was willing to do anything because it was just like you just wanted to do your work, go home. And so the community feeling that you got that drew me to this department was kind of dying. So I decided to start this program. And with that, what we do is just have social activities where all the graduate students can come and interact with one another. We've done like sledding, we've gone laser tag, this kind of thing to just get people out of the lab and get them outside and interacting with one another. So that's what I have been involved with, these two things.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that that is such a great way to also conceptualize our students, whether you're a grad or an undergrad experience, that it's not just what happens inside of the classroom, but how do we make sure that we're advancing the dialogue of self-care and to some extent co-care, right? Like you're supporting each other and you're creating spaces to make sure that our students are navigating their lives in a healthy way. That's phenomenal to hear. Ignacio, I would love to bring you back here as well. From an extracurricular perspective, what are some of the other pieces that you're involved in as an undergraduate on the River campus?
There are kind of three main things that I'm really involved in right now, and Taylor mentioned it earlier. One of them is SAA, Student Alumni Ambassadors, and can't say enough good things about them. I think it's just such a great program, you know, to take current students and basically have them, you know, just go and be talking boards for everything that, you know, the post-graduation that the University of Rochester offers to alumni, or even, you know, for events like staffing events from like the Meliora weekend or Spring Fest. You know, I can't say enough good things about it. I love SA. And also involved in the Biomedical Engineering Society. And that was actually the first thing I joined my first semester here, you know, because, you know, I joined BME, but I you know, BME, you say it, but what does it really mean? So that's kind of why I joined the society, and I've really liked the experiences that it has exposed me to, such as, you know, we get to sometimes like Boys and Girls Clubs will come to the University of Rochester, be at some weekend, and we can often, like, you know, show them like a heart model, you know, kind of what Jackson was saying with the graduate chemistry group, where they would go to middle schools and just, you know, show them science. We would do something similar where we'd have like a heart model and we'd just show it to the kids and they'd just be like, whoa. I thought that was really cool. And then I really like that aspect of, you know, that extracurricular here. I'm also really involved, not really involved, but there's a lot of like pickup soccer games that happen here, and intramural. I love intramural. It's just like something fun to like end the day with. They're usually late at night, and it's something different, you know, as Dean Runner said earlier, that, you know, students, they're in classes a couple hours of the day, then they're out of classes, and what else are they going to do? And, you know, I like the intramural system. It's just something, you know, take your mind off and kind of just play, have fun. And these experiences just kind of, especially during like COVID, like doing these were just really nice when we could. Obviously during COVID we had to play with, you know, like masks, and while that was like annoying, but it was still nice to like see someone else and like be able to try to do something that with some sense of normalcy. So I really like, these are the things I've been doing, and again, SAA, just can't say enough good things.
Nice. Nice. No, I appreciate that level of importance of blowing off some steam, right? Especially when we're so immersed in our academics and also just society around us. I think we all agree that as we're navigating COVID, post-COVID, during COVID, alongside COVID, it's important to find those spaces to be able to blow off some steam and continue doing the great work that we're all doing. Now, the inevitable question that I always ask all of our students, especially as they're approaching graduation, I'm going to start off with Taylor first because she's a little further away from graduating than some of our other student panelists. But Taylor, can you share a little bit around, you know, how you think the university is preparing you for what comes next, right? When you turn that tassel in 2024, you know, how is the university preparing you?
I mean, essentially, I am at Eastman to learn how to play my instrument. With cello performance, it's cello performance, right? But they offer so many other programs than just lessons. There's orchestra, there's chamber music, there's orchestral rep classes where I learn how to play excerpts and prepare for auditions. And with the ALP program, which they also offer at Eastman, they give us the opportunity to have 2 paid internships with internships that we choose in the Rochester community. There are just so many things besides performing and playing our instrument. It gives us the opportunity to involve ourselves with the community, can create connections with people outside of Eastman. It's just a lot of building blocks that prepare us for the next step, for our next, there's just so much support at Eastman with the students and also with the staff and faculty. This is like one of the most supportive communities that I've ever been in. It's pretty amazing to see how much people want others to succeed. It's like how Jackson mentioned earlier, that there's not really a sense of a toxic community here. I know a lot of people at my school just because it is quite small, and everyone is just so supportive. It's pretty amazing to see. So having that support helps me spur my directions towards my future plans. I don't really know what they will be at this point, but I do have a couple of years till I graduate. But yeah, I think just having this sense of community at my school and with Rochester is a pretty big building block for me.
That's fantastic to hear, Taylor. And what I'm really excited for the 4 of you in particular is that soon, a few of you in less than a year, and then Taylor in a little less than 2 years, you're going to be joining the alumni family. And that network only becomes larger, and that support only becomes larger. And you can count on individuals across all different types of graduating classes, all different types of schools. So it really is a phenomenal world on this side as well, once that degree is conferred. And it doesn't end, right, when the degree is conferred. Remember, the word commencement means to begin anew, right? You're about to start a whole new chapter. So keep that eye on the prize. I'm going to ask something similar to Deandra here around, as the Simon graduation is coming up in 2023. I presume you did your internship as well this past summer. Share a little bit about how Simon and the University of Rochester has prepared you for your next chapter.
Sure. Honestly, the support that we have gotten and I just have to say, initially I thought Simon was just the school that just are welcoming, but hearing from everyone here, I realized that it's a University of Rochester culture and how they have managed to cultivate such an environment where regardless of where you are, what profession you are, you still have that sense of community that Melissa was mentioning earlier, that sense of belonging. And it's just blowing my mind right now, honestly, because I thought our program was unique, but now I'm hearing it's across the board. So that is just amazing. But to say how they have prepared me, we have a very rigorous program here, which is amazing in terms of just getting up to base with what we need in order to be successful. I think we call them GBCs, which is basically our courses, our communication courses. Those have been a life changer, especially in my internship. Just my ability to connect with persons across the board, regardless of the level that they are in the organization. I felt that during my internship at Microsoft, that did wonders. And I got so many comments on that other students that kind of distinguished me from other students. So that was amazing. I think Simon being one of the most diverse programs, MBA programs, also helped a lot because I'm able to cross cultural barriers with persons who I worked with over the summer and basically identify different things that I didn't know before. So there's a lot of things that my MBA here is affording me opportunities and opening doors that I have not even gotten to yet, just because I have that knowledge that is preparing me to do so.
Excellent. No, fantastic experience there. And best of luck to you with the upcoming Simon graduation as well. Jackson, I'm going to throw this question to you. And it kind of comes back to our audience here, our fellow alums. Kind of curious to hear a little bit about what levels of engagement or interactions you've had with the alumni community so far, since it sounds, if I'm not mistaken, you've been at the university as a student a little bit longer than some of our other panelists. So I'm kind of curious to hear about your story.
Yeah, in my earlier years, I had no communication with alumni, but now as I'm starting to look for jobs and everything, it really helps to reach out to these people that have also graduated from the chemistry department here, because they're working in the jobs that I want to do. So I reach out to them and ask for help preparing my CV, and just because we went to the same school, they're more than willing to help and to look at your application documents and give you feedback on it. So it's been very helpful just to reach out to people who came here and got their PhDs from this department.
Excellent. Yeah. And I will hope that all of our alums are communicative and they're responding to your emails and your phone calls.
Most of them are.
Okay. Give me the list of those that aren't.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jackson. How about yourself, Ignacio? Tell me a little bit about your exposure to our fellow alumni community during your undergraduate time at Rochester.
Someone mentioned earlier that it was Melissa that mentioned the Malaria Collective, and I actually did that during that COVID year, and it was actually really nice to to talk to someone and be an alumni who was in a field similar to mine, and it was just nice to hear kind of the other side, because coming up to senior year now, it's just kind of like, okay, but like what's behind door number 3 or door number 2, and it was good to hear or get a peek at least of what was behind there. And honestly, through SAA, I've actually gone to talk to a lot of alumni, and it's been really great because they just want to see you win. Like Jackson said, they're really excited that if you're from the University of Rochester, it's like that you could potentially also work at the company they're working at, or they could help you place you somewhere. And they just want to, I don't know if it's kind of like a bragging rights thing, within the workplace being like, well, there are 10 U of R graduates here more than the 8 of UC San Diego or anywhere else. But it's just they want to see you also succeed, and so that's really nice, because a win for them, a win for me, like I guess is a win for everyone, or for them to place me. They don't have to, but they're helping out, and that's been really nice. And it's again been really helpful as I start to step out and commencement and commence my postgraduate life.
Exactly right. And kind of going back to what DeAndre was saying too, the idea that as a current student, you've been very focused in your respective academic area, right? Whether it be arts and sciences or engineering or Eastman or Simon. And that really begins to evolve a little bit more as an alum of the institution, where you're still connected, of course, and you're affiliated with your respective colleges, but kind of to what DeAndre was saying, like, wait, this is happening across the aisle and across the different colleges. And so you will have hundreds of thousands of fellow alums cheering you on, right? And championing your success. And the idea is that, for our audience members that are current leaders as alumni of the institution, you're going to be joining, right, the leadership of the alumni once that degree is conferred, and kind of paying it forward for the next generation. So to that point, I have one last question to ask. I'm going to pitch this one to Taylor to kind of kick us off. You have a captive audience here of alums. What can we do better to support you as a student, to support your fellow classmates? What are some of the things that you think might be really helpful for us to also contribute to our current students?
During Meliora Weekend, I had the opportunity to meet with an alumni. She actually lives in Germany, and she returned to come and see what Eastman is like. And getting that opportunity to speak to an actual alumni who has a job abroad and is still working in the musical field was pretty special. I think having more opportunities like that to give to the students, to be able to speak to someone who's gone through what we've gone through. A lot of people and a lot of my friends at school haven't had the opportunity to do so. A lot of them don't even know a lot of the alumni, and really, at all. But because I am an SAA, I was given the opportunity to have this conversation, this one-on-one conversation with an alumni, and that was pretty special to be able to speak to someone. So I think having more opportunities like that would be pretty amazing for students in general.
So it sounds to me as well that one day when you're an alumna of Eastman, you'll be returning for Meliora weekend
Yeah,
and
definitely.
being that person, right, for the next
Yeah.
Taylor to connect with. I like that. How about yourself, Deandra, from the Simon Business School perspective? I'm sure you've engaged with a number of alums through the Simon School, probably even from the beginning, from recruitment.
I feel like that is built into the program itself. It is encouraged. The minute I have a list of companies that I'm interested in, it's a list of past students or alumni that I get a list of them, like, oh, reach out to these persons. I definitely think we do a great job at connecting our students with alumni here. I think one other opportunities is probably having more conversations around transition into the workplace. I know we're here and we talk about the schools, what it's like, being involved, getting a job, but then transition into that job, as I learned from my internship, is a very different experience. So I think maybe having more of those conversations is what transition from the school life back into the workplace is like would be great. But I think overall our alumni are so accessible, as was mentioned before, where they want to see us see everyone succeed. Once you're a Simon student, they all get excited, they all give you the best advice and connect you with other persons, not just, oh, here's some advice, but okay, maybe you want to talk to this person, maybe you want to talk to that person. So I think it's great. And I think the Meliora Collective, as much as I haven't used it a lot, is a great way for us to like tap into that resource. So maybe just promoting that a little more and stuff, so for other students can access that, I guess that, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, have access to that, know that they have access to that to utilize it.
Exposing them to the Meliora Collective, perhaps even earlier, right, as part of their experience at Rochester, maybe embedding it into orientation, perhaps for our staff and administrators that are here, if they're not already. Ignacio, how about yourself? Any advice for us, for alums?
Yeah, like kind of what Taylor's mentioning, it's really those like kind of like putting a face to a name, or, you know, a title, alumna or alumni to a person. Those experiences are really great because, you know, sometimes it's just kind of connecting on them with them to just ask, you know, general questions about, you know, what it's like, you know, in their respective field, or, you know, what kind of like barriers they face. I think that was also important to like mention, or to be like, you know, discuss, would be like, you know, you graduate and everyone kind of has the same picture of like, oh, I'll go get a job now, but that's not kind of like the path that everyone takes. And sometimes that's never how, you know, like the cookie crumbles. You could get out and you don't get a job in the first year, and or a lot of people, you know, take a gap year, or, you know, like a gap year to kind of just do something else, or like just take a break. I think those kind of like discussing that more would be like really helpful, and just, you know, another perspective, not that everything has to be the same, you know, cookie cutter mold of you get out, you get a job, you continue. It never really happens like that.
Absolutely right. No, thank you for sharing that. Jackson, take us home. How about yourself?
Sorry, what was the question?
It was like, what advice would you give us as alums?
Keep doing what you're doing, and yeah, we're all just trying to figure it out as we go. Yeah.
I appreciate that. If not you, then who, as my former mentor used to say, right? When it comes to our fellow Rochester community. Well, listen, I want to thank everyone for joining us. Thank you to all of our students as well for sharing your time with us this afternoon. I also want to re-thank Drs. Sturgeon, Apple, and Runner for speaking with us earlier. We hope that you found today's VIP Leadership Forum to be invigorating and insightful and fun. As the university's biggest ambassadors, we definitely strive to deliver you content that is impactful and poignant and gives you pride in our institution. A brief survey will appear at the end of today's event, so please consider sharing your feedback with us, as it really helps us to develop and deliver more meaningful content. Today's program is part of a series that will take place throughout the entire year. So until next time, it's been a pleasure hosting you all today, and we hope to see you at the next VIP Leadership Forum. Take care, everyone. Meliora.